All right. Thanks for tuning in. Here we are on the first episode of A Couple Darks and a Caramel. We got my two boys here, B-Town.
What's up?
Papa Doc.
I guess I'm Papa Doc now.
I wanted you guys to introduce yourselves. This is a new podcast for us here.
Well, I think you just introduced us.
No. I'd like a little background.
Little background.
Background.
Nickname's B-Town. So the Caramel's wife?
Yeah.
Have you given your name out?
D-True.
D-True?
D-True Caramel.
Gave me the name B-Town back in 2007, and it was an awful nickname at first, but it stuck. So now,
Here we are. Papa Doc.
Oh, hi.
It's your turn to speak.
Hey, I guess I'm Papa Doc. Go under the alias of Johnny Lee. You can find me on Twitch any day of the week. Not really.
Most days.
Some days.
Some Friday chicken.
Yeah, 40s and fried chicken every other Friday.
Yeah.
You can find me drinking.
So we got a nice little setup here today. Like I said, it's our first one. Just kind of testing the waters, feeling some things out. We've known each other for several years now. Had some fun debates, topics, conversations, but we decided to start recording and see where things go today. So
Let's see if things get weird.
yeah, see
Things
if
are definitely
get a
going to
little
get weird. Yep.
There's no agenda, no set topic in mind, but
Hey, I have a topic. Hey, Johnny, how about you stop slamming things on the goddamn table so they don't come to the microphone?
Can you hear it in yours?
I hear it.
Oh my God, this guy's such a where's the professionalism?
Didn't you just get up from the goddamn seat?
Well, yeah,
Making all
but
kinds of noise
they didn't see that though.
with your big black ass.
Yeah.
Shuffling out there.
All right, host, let's get this going.
Let's get this going. So, obviously trending all the time, it seems. And again, this morning, our longtime boy, Mr. West.
Mr. Kanye West?
Mr. Kanye West. Bryant.
Kanye West. Let's talk about Kanye.
We're not going to go down the path of his career individually and all the shenanigans, but let's start back with
How far
our
back?
debates of MCs, rappers, rankings,
Oh Lord.
preferences.
Well, this is super vague. You got.
No. Just follow along, okay? Just follow along.
I'm fine. Okay.
Just let it get
Just
weird.
let it breathe. Just let it breathe, okay?
I'm having a hard time breathing right now.
We're going to start here. You're going to have to either... What's going on down there?
I think your son just farted on the table.
Can't be making noise there, kid.
Yeah.
So we're going to start here. You got 90s. We're going to start just in the 90s.
Okay.
Rappers.
So we're only that's
No,
weird.
no,
That's
We're
weird.
starting with the 90s. We're starting in the 90s.
But if the rappers keep making music in the 2000s and 2010s and now 2020s, do they not count? I need more. You got to give me more work here, bro.
What I'm trying to say, decade by decade, this is where it's evolving to. So I understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to get at is establishing who were the top guys or ladies in each decade.
In the 90s.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
starting in the 90s.
Gotcha. So we doing top 5?
Yeah, let's say top 5.
So men and women combined.
No, I'm saying it's combined. Yeah, men or women.
Okay.
I'm not saying top 5 men, top 5 women.
Let's let Papa Doc start.
And it doesn't. You don't have to get it in the exact 5 order. Just like who you would have. Just throw one out.
in the 90s.
Starting in the 90s. I mean, we had
This is easy for me. This is easy.
Okay, let's
So
start.
I would say Nas, Busta Rhymes, Tupac, Biggie, Busta Rhymes, Tupac, and who's another popular one? Missy Elliott.
I don't like any of that. Hated it. I will say. I agree. Tupac was obviously need to be in that list.
You can't have Tupac. You can't. You
Yeah.
can like pass over Tupac. You
Can't
can't.
obviously pass over Biggie either. So that's 2 on there. That's like those
automatic
2 automatic.
Qualification.
Yeah, for the
I don't know why I
90s.
didn't put Snoop Dogg in there, but
I'm not putting Snoop. No.
Yeah, I'm not putting Snoop
No.
in there.
Yeah, that's awkward. Really awkward.
why wouldn't you put Snoop Dogg in there?
Because he's not in my top 5. Because I have people in my top 5
Just
like
because he's not in my top
DMX. that are higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think.
I will also put Jay-Z above Snoop Dogg.
We're talking about the whole decade, though, right?
90 to 90.
Yeah, but see, Snoop was only good for like 2 or 3 years in that time period. Jay-Z had like the back half of that.
I was thinking Jay-Z was probably more popular at the end of the 90s.
Yeah,
like in the
exactly. I agree.
Late 90s.
But I would say he's popular. His height in the 90s was for longer than Snoop.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think
Again,
it was bigger?
Snoop's first album was amazing. He had a couple of songs with
Doggy Style
yeah.
and Chronic.
That wasn't his album, but yeah, he had songs on it that were huge. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like the second half of the 90s was Jay had it on lock. So yeah, Biggie, Tupac, DMX, Jay-Z. My last one's tough. But you guys know how much I love this lady.
Oh gosh, we're gonna have this conversation again.
I'm gonna say it. I'm going with Lauryn Hill.
Motherfucker.
What?
She's not a rapper.
She's not a rapper.
Okay,
We've had
okay,
this
fine.
conversation
Okay,
before.
fine. She's not a rapper, even though she's rapping on that album. Okay.
She's an R&B. She does a little singing, does a little rapping. She's an artist.
Okay.
She's not a rapper.
Go ahead and argue Lauryn Hill as a rapper.
Lauryn Hill wouldn't even tell you she's a rapper.
She's
came
on.
in right
She's
now,
on one
she-
of the greatest rap groups of all time, the Fugees.
Just because she told you she defecates on the microphone? You think
Hey, that's a hell of a line. Who can say they talk about crap on a mic and not have it sound cool as hell? All right, number 5 is tough. I don't know. I'm skipping that 5th. I can't think. Ja Rule.
Ja Rule for the is
He was. You may not like him, but he was freaking huge.
for the 90s though.
Yeah, no.
He came out in 97.
No.
Yeah, but we're talking.
And again, his hits were humongous. Some of his bigger hits were probably in the 2000s, but he started in the late 90s.
Can I clarify? I should have clarified. Are we saying who we think was the 5 best or who we liked as the 5?
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought we were. I thought we
I'll
were.
go with what you guys have said. Are
I thought
saying
we were. I thought we were just going off of like just
who we think
status.
the best is. Okay.
No, I thought it was like who was actually selling the who's doing the biggest numbers.
No, just like who you thought the best was in the 90s.
That changes things because I wouldn't have Pac in mind. I wasn't huge. I wasn't the biggest Pac fan.
Well, so what I'm saying is there's a different. Like I know I like rappers that aren't
Okay,
good.
give us yours. Give us yours.
Well, that's what I'm clarifying because I would have had very
Bitch,
similar.
this is your
lists to yours.
question.
But then I started to hear where he was going, and then what you said, I'm like, Bryant wouldn't normally say Tupac.
I wouldn't. I thought we were going off of like
Well, let's
biggest
stay with
impact.
It. We'll stay with that.
Yeah,
Tupac
like-
and Biggie are non-negotiables. We've said DMX was like one of the first people that came to mind. I'm kind of with Marsh or Papa Doc, Johnny Lee. Don't know about Jay-Z in the 90s. He had some big stuff at the end, but he's not one of the first people that comes to mind. I'm not the biggest fan, but going against like Wu-Tang, not having them in any sort of conversation, like do you consider the group comparable, or do you have to like single out Method Man?
I was gonna say,
or
'cause if you-
like
because Method Man by himself was bigger than Wu Tang.
he was, but I don't think a lot of even Wu-Tang members consider him like the best of the group.
Yeah, but again, that kind of goes back to is it impact we're talking about or just raw talent?
So my question right now is, does Wu-Tang or like Outkast, are those
Oh, we forgot about
Are those
Outkast.
considered entities? Like, hey, Outkast is in the top 5.
Outkast, Aquemini was like a really big
Yeah.
deal in the 90s. I remember that being a big record. But Wu-Tang kind of has like aged like a fine wine, like over time. I don't remember them being as like
I agree.
largely popular in the 90s.
Not
And then,
as
like,
big as they are now.
They've always been an underground group.
Yeah.
Right, but then like everybody had come to like various audio files, and like, everybody else had like kind of like put their legend up higher over time, where people are like, oh yeah, these guys were so great. But like at the time, I don't remember a whole bunch of people listening to Wu-Tang. I only remember like real hip hop
Yeah.
lovers
Yeah.
enjoying Wu-Tang and typically crapping on me for not listening to Wu-Tang
No,
and
I'm
listening to
the same way because I didn't even listen to a lot of Wu-Tang, but like I took it as like when I first think of 90s hip hop, who are the names and the like artists and groups that come to mind?
Yeah.
And I feel like Wu-Tang definitely comes in it because they're so unique and
I think like Marsh said, thinking back on it now, yes, but back in the 90s, I wasn't listening to Wu Tang back in the 90s. But I was listening more to commercial stuff, so radio
I
stuff.
only like say like Busta Rhymes and like Missy Elliott. I put them in there because I think that they created a definite like marking point for different sounds that like that had they had like definite sound changes to that generation, to the 1990s.
Yeah.
Like Missy Elliott had all kinds of like, and most of it was driven by Timbaland putting out a lot of sounds in, but then also I don't know who was doing all the beats and stuff for Busta Rhymes, but Busta Rhymes with like a certain amount of energy that came out that could be seen in other artists during that time. Like people being really wild and stuff, like basically more popularizing like the Onyx and all that stuff, but like making it much more mainstream and just being buck wild and stuff on stage and bringing energy and stuff. And you can see that like in a Ja Rule or anybody else like that had that kind of similar energy. They had realized that can get.
Funny. I'm sure everyone's heard the story that Puff Daddy told Busta Rhymes to actually tone it down.
No.
Yeah, Puff told Busta to tone it down a little bit.
Dog.
And actually, the thing people like him the most is because he is so wild and crazy on the mic and stuff like that. Even his newer stuff is a little bit more toned down than he was back in the 90s, and that's, he's not as popular now as he's.
But what group was he in before he was on his own? He was
trivia question.
Busta Rhymes?
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest?
No, he was not.
I have to look this up.
I guarantee it was not Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, he was.
It was a super you don't know anyone on that rap group. Or I should say most people wouldn't know anyone in that rap group.
Busta Rhymes' old group.
Well,
Leaders of the New School.
Leaders of the New School. There you go. Yep.
So the person that I was going to bring up, Ice Cube.
Yeah.
I feel like in the 90s, coming out of NWA, then went solo.
Yeah, why didn't I
blew up?
He would be my top 10. Maybe not the top 5.
I consider him bigger in the 90s than Jay-Z was.
I don't know, what did he have? I guess he had like the West Side Connection and stuff like near the end of it, but was that like really popular though?
Yeah, that's the thing. He had huge hits, but I feel like some of it, and again, this goes back to the original question, because regionally speaking, he was huge, right? All the West Coast, Ice Cube was huge, but I don't think his music transferred well over to New York and to the South.
I don't know about that. I think he was one of the most popular people there was in the 90s and coming out of rap. I mean, look, he was in all sorts of different movies. Mm-hmm. Three Kings. He had the Friday movies.
Yeah.
He was in a lot of stuff.
As an overall artist, he was definitely transformational to, like, he kind of picked up the whole piece where Tupac left off, like producing movies. Like Friday was a huge, like 90s hit.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a cult classic. And, or would you consider Friday a cult classic now?
Originally, yes, I would have said a cult classic. Now I think it's just mainstream popular.
Yeah.
Right. I was just watching that a few nights ago, but I was like, yeah, he had a lot of impact, not just to the music, but then also just to like how much more broad artists can get.
Mm-hmm. I say we move on to the 2000, and we gotta really fine tune what we're trying to say here. We're all over the place on how we're characterizing. I think we should go on raw talent or impact to the culture.
We're good with that.
No, I think that's good. It's like if I'm looking at an artist overall, as far as overall impact for that 10-year span from 1990 to 2000, I would keep my list where it's at.
I actually like the Ice Cube if we're talking about overall impact, because then again, the movies come into a play and all that stuff.
Like Biggie for me, Pac, Ice Cube, DMX has to be like for sure in there to me,
because he also had the movies as well.
Yeah, he was huge.
Belly was huge,
and then I would probably say Nas too.
Nas is like not a question. I disagree with that.
What?
2 against 1. So.
Yeah.
What?
Nas
Nas
should
not be in the top 5?
No. If we're talking about impact over the span of the 10 years. Because his greatest hit was his first album. And then after that, there were good albums, but they were never as big as that first album. And he didn't have... again, the other 4 that you mentioned had bigger impacts outside of hip-hop. He was just mainly hip-hop. He had Belly, but...
I mean, for me, it's not a trick question. For me, it's like when you think back, who are the names that come to mind that stood out?
Okay.
So we'll move on. I think we've got a clear
Okay.
consensus. We'll hit the 2000 mark.
2000.
This is harder.
2000 to 2010.
2000 to 2010.
Okay.
I mean, there's an easy one. It's a non-negotiable. It's the White Boy.
Oh, M. Well, but he started in the 90s too, though.
He was featured on some stuff in like 2000, 99, 2000.
Yeah,
I was going to say his album came out 97, 98, his first album, which is one of the biggest albums of all time.
I thought it was 99.
Either way, that's still the 90s.
But like 90%.
There's some like overlap. You
Yeah,
can give
there's
some room for
90%
overlap.
of his
But okay, but I
discography.
agree. Either way, yeah, you're right. Most of his impact was in that time frame. I'm cool with that.
So Eminem to me is absolute.
Okay.
You wouldn't put Dr. Dre in there?
No. We're still waiting.
You're
for
talking
Again-
about new
again-
are we talking about only new artists or
No.
okay?
No.
No, I mean he had a great album. Which was a transformational album. Actually, no, I take that back because again
He produced a lot of
he
stuff.
produced it. He actually Eminem, 50 Cent, all those are under his tree.
He's a producer. He's not a rapper in those.
But we're talking about impact again. This
No,
goes
no,
back to
no, no, it's
your
not what I
questions
said.
too goddamn vague.
No, it's not. I don't know why you can't get your peanut brain wrapped around it. I said when
You
think
say
of the
impact.
Rappers, no,
You
I
say
did not.
impact.
You keep saying impact. Tell me I'm wrong. I say when you think of this decade, who are the rappers that come to mind?
Okay.
So I say Eminem,
So M, I'm going to go J then.
Jay-Z for sure.
Yeah. There's some other rappers that come to my mind that I really liked during that time period, but I wouldn't necessarily put them in the top 5. Like Jeezy was big in that time for me.
Lil Wayne,
Oh, Lil Wayne, easy.
T.I.,
Yeah.
Ludacris.
Oh, shibbity bibbity. Yeah. Luda.
I feel like 2000s is harder than
Yeah.
even the 90s was.
Yeah. Luda for me would definitely be the top 5. So M, J, Lil Wayne, Luda.
Not gonna put 50 Cent in there.
I was gonna say 50 Cent too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he has to.
I think he has to.
his
Yeah.
his like peak was higher than like anybody's.
Yep.
Yeah, there's like a whole thing where Jay-Z's talking about the upcoming or the coming of 50 Cent.
Yeah,
He said we have to get all this music out before 50 comes and tears everything down. Is what he said.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Everyone in New York saw it coming.
Yeah, so I would say 50 Cent, Eminem for sure would be in there. Ludacris, he had a run of albums.
Yeah, he had a run.
Luda's incredibly underrated.
Yeah, I would say
Underrated.
You brought him up in the 90s, but I actually think of Ja Rule as more of a 2000s guy.
Yeah, a lot of his biggest hits were in the
Yeah.
2000s with J Lo. But again,
He's not
A
my
lot-
cup of tea, but he
yeah,
was
and
really
again, a
popular.
lot of people wouldn't call that. If you're talking, if we're trying to delineate between hip hop and rap, those are pop songs with J Lo and
I wouldn't put Ja Rule in there because as soon as 50 Cent came in the early, like Ja Rule
Went away.
Yeah, he went away.
it's true. I mean, Ja Rule, he was hot for like 6 or 7 years. That ended the 90s, the early 2000s, and then 50 came and shut that thing down.
What about
quick.
like a Fat Joe?
Never.
Never.
I would never have him in my top 5. I like his music, but I would never have him in the top 5 in anything.
Top 5 rappers in 2000 and 2010.
But just throwing in the mix. I mean, we've named almost 10 people already. Do you consider him in the like tier here, or is he a tier below?
Probably two down.
2 tiers below. Wow.
Yeah. You can't. I can't. You
The
can't,
level of disrespect.
You can-
Seriously.
If you go back and watch their
You
verses,
don't like
it was
fat people?
you know.
Anti-big pun too?
No,
You mental?
absolutely. No, like if you think back, like Joe has some crazy hits, right? But in terms of overall, like thinking of hip hop rappers who changed things, Fat Joe's not one of those guys.
And what about the guy I mentioned at the top? Kanye.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah,
He came on in like what, 04?
man, would he have to replace Luda on my list then?
I think
I think his first album was like 03, 04, wasn't it?
It was our first year in college. So
yeah,
it was
03.
It was 04, yeah. I went to the first concert.
So that's 6 years of him being like
Yeah,
right there at the top.
yeah. I'm gonna change the list. I'm gonna go MJ, Lil Wayne, and Kanye. That 5 or 4.
What about Pusha?
No, God,
Consider Clips.
Yeah,
like
Clips.
that Joe. He's great,
He's
but
2 tiers below.
yeah,
I would say, yeah, Clips was their own thing with just for a small period. But then if you were gonna put them in there, then you'd have to say is Pharrell in the mix of that, because like Pharrell
he was the brainchild.
just starting to really push out
Yeah.
and he like even with kind of reviving Snoop in that time period as well with like Drop It Like It's Hot and that whole
Yeah.
or what's that what record was that?
That was off of Snoop's album.
Yeah, I didn't know what album. I can't
yeah.
remember the name of that album. But yeah, that was dope.
I mentioned T.I., right?
Yeah, again, great, but not in this list.
You mentioned Jeezy. T.I. was bigger than Jeezy.
I'm saying that, yes, I 100% agree, but Jeezy's first album for me, and like a lot of rappers reference Jeezy's first album as being a huge point in hip hop history for them. A lot of the newer rappers, the Kendricks.
See, I'd consider him even below the guys you said are tier 2.
No, I agree. But I'm saying his first album, though.
And you said earlier in the 90s, Busta Rhymes, I almost consider his bigger fame, too, in the 2000s.
No.
Really?
I feel like he was huge.
Give me
in like
some Mo and what's the other record?
Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can
Yeah,
See.
those are from the 90s.
Yeah, but he got started doing a lot of the stuff with like the
Janet.
Yeah. Janet and Mariah Carey.
I wasn't
and like all
that-
that sort of stuff.
That's
flip
when
mode.
that's when he started slowing down and started being a little bit more calm. And I was like, I'm like
He
an
had
old school wild.
The Arab money.
Can you say that on the podcast?
We canceled.
We're canceled, bro.
Shit.
I'm Carmel. I can say it.
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
I think this is the toughest one.
I agree.
Finding 5.
Which is
out of all
funny.
these.
Which is funny because this is the time where people were saying hip hop was dying.
Yeah. Well, one guy, and we didn't even mention him here.
Who?
Nas.
Nas?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Nas for the longest, but I just can't. I can't listen to his music like I can't other rappers.
So I think we all agree Eminem is one, right? Or not saying he's number one, but is in the
He's on the
group.
list. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Eminem,
Kanye.
Ludacris, Kanye West,
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z's. Yeah, he's got to be in there. That's
It's only one spot left. Then
Where's that 4?
that's 4 right
I've
there.
already named 4. I've got 3 so far.
You haven't said Lil Wayne.
Yeah, I actually would put Lil Wayne.
I mean, like in my opinion, there's 4 people that you can't have on that list.
Can't.
You have to have.
Or
You have to have MJ, Lil Wayne, and Kanye.
I'd
you
actually
say?
put
MJ,
Oh, okay.
MJ,
Yeah. I was
Eminem.
Like MJ.
Jay-Z,
Yeah.
Lil
I'm
Wayne,
following.
Kanye. Those 4 you have to have on that list,
yeah.
I don't know if Lil Wayne's a
bro.
he's a final contender.
No.
I don't know if he's a must-have.
In my opinion, he's a must-have.
In the early 2000s, though,
That's when
like, that was more like the Hot Boys and
Yeah.
like
no. His
Cash
first
Money.
album dropped our freshman year in college.
the Carter.
Carter.
The Carter. That's what started his ascent. That album is what started it. After that, it was like a goddamn
He never
like they-
stopped
jet rocket.
But the
Yeah,
until like recently.
Yeah, I mean, his longevity is part of his.
yeah. But in my opinion, his hottest years were in that decade.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know how you could not have 50 on the list though either.
Because it's one album. Again, I agree. It was like that album that was the craziest of crazy. Like
But then he came out with the Massacre right
Yeah,
after
he
that.
had
that album didn't do
It
it, for
wasn't
me
like
the
the
first.
other one, but I still enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
still
it was
liked
good. It was
Massacre.
fine, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't Get Rich or Die Trying.
But I mean, they got killed, but like Biggie had 2 albums.
They were both amazing.
They
Get
were.
Rich or Die Trying and Massacre were not what Biggie put out,
Get Rich or Die Trying was a top time.
but the Massacre wasn't.
The Massacre, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
There's not a rapper who's put out their first 2 albums as being classics. I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Actually, Kanye.
Yeah, with the Graduation.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Kanye, Jay-Z, and Eminem are to me like the ones that you can't not have on the list. Trying to think of who the others would be though. It's a lot of. T.I. was huge for like a solid 6 or 7 years there.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't take Ti off of consideration for that list.
Yeah. T.I. was humongous.
Yeah.
Luda, T.I., and Lil Wayne to me are like neck and neck.
Was it like T.I. versus T.I.P.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm again. This is like they would be like if you're having your 5, it would be Luda and T.I. like right there next in line.
Yeah. The 1B, 1C.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would have Luda ahead of
I
T.I.
had a tough
but
time believing like when I said the original question of who just comes to mind for the decade, like I feel like 50 is one of the first people I think of.
really,
Yeah.
yeah. We're leaving off Outkast as well,
I thought, again,
and then
yeah.
and for yeah,
Oh, shit.
and they would for me be ahead of again.
Then
It's
they made
crazy.
the-
Anyways, I don't. You can't pick wrong here.
When did Speaker Box come? Like Speaker Box.
That was
2005?
our last year of college. No, I was actually our.
No, it was like
that was 05. Yeah.
It was like 04, 05.
No, it was 04.
Yeah.
It was 04.
Yeah, that was a hot album.
That was, yeah.
And they had just built a lot of notoriety from like the 90s as well. So like yeah, I don't
You know,
I think
the
they-
crazy thing is that was their last official album. They had one more album that was
Is it the Love Below? It was Speaker Box and the Love Below.
yeah. They had one more album that was like a soundtrack album that wasn't nearly as good as but
Another name that I feel like sick even mentioning with all these good rappers, but when we're talking about like names that come to mind, like cultural, Soulja Boy.
all right. Next subject. Next subject.
Just saying, bro.
Drake.
Telling you, I went to college in 06. For those like 3 or 4 years, there was a Soulja Boy thing going like all the time at
All
college.
right, I'm done with this conversation. Let's go to the next decade.
Don't be don't
You're right,
be,
though.
Thank you. Don't be ignorant.
I'm an old school hip hop head. I don't want to hear Soulja
I
Boy
moved to
involved.
Atlanta like
Yeah.
in
He
07
was,
or 08.
like, the beginning of like that whole
Yeah.
sound going like,
Of the
blowing up.
destruction of hip hop. You're right, absolutely.
See, this is where you get ignorant. This is where you get ignorant.
That's why they said that hip hop started dying in that generation because of him, because of what's the other dude?
This isn't. I didn't say
I'm
this is my
sensing some-
favorite top. Yeah, like
You
this
need to
guy
get
is
like a haterade
Yeah,
button on
seriously.
here.
No.
No, you need like a haterade
It's
sound. that
the
we can
question
push.
was who comes to mind of a decade, and he definitely was up there with like some of the biggest.
Okay, yeah,
notoriety.
he came to my mind for starting the destruction of hip hop. Yep, you're right. Yep, that's why it came to mind. 100%.
hater.
Oh, hater.
You guys were going to sit here, so you guys are sitting telling me that you actually enjoy listening to that song.
That's not the question.
Go on to the next goddamn decade. We got our top
you didn't
5.
Even, you didn't even give us your top 5.
I did like 3 times, bro.
Yeah,
I thought you
put
gave
Lil
us
Wayne.
4.
Oh, he had Lil Wayne in the.
Who was your 5th?
Luda or T.I. or anybody. Whatever.
See, you didn't give it to us. Give on.
For the 4th time. All right. M. J. Lil Wayne.
Soldier.
Kanye. We'll go Luda's. Actually, we'll go Outkast as the 5th.
I think you're putting out a list that sounds cool.
Yeah, I
You're not
agree
doing the
with
one
you.
that you think
He's picking stuff he likes to listen to.
That's
right.
that's what when you think of the 2000, that's what comes to my mind. That's what I would listen to. So that's the point of the conversation, right?
Okay, then.
I'm getting hot, bro. I'm getting hot. Getting real hot. Okay, we're
real
talking
hot.
about goddamn
Old
Soulja
man
Boy.
of the- old
About to
man
pull my
of the
pants
podcast.
off. I'm getting so hot.
Talking about Soulja Boy. I'm talking about some goddamn classics. I'm talking about goddamn Soulja Boy and doing the you.
He made a ton of hits.
Yeah, and he
For
also
children.
ushered in a new generation of
Yeah.
like
Shitty rap.
producing content. Mm-hmm. Like there not a lot of people like a lot of stuff that when I think it was on the Breakfast Club when that
Yeah.
all happened when he
Yeah.
was like saying what he was saying.
That was like last year.
That was I mean there was nothing that you could really refute.
No,
out
that's
of
true.
that. Everything
He was the
saying
first one to
legit.
just to be on YouTube and all that. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, first one.
Doesn't mean I
and-
like his music.
and to get the deals he was getting and be able to control all of his content and all that stuff. Like he is like a Sir Mix-a-Lot of his generation. Like I think he owns like a lot of his
His
own
own stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of his publishing,
Which is
stuff,
very, very rare for hip hop, at least
especially
in that
for young artists.
I haven't seen this guy so flustered in a long time.
day. God damn it, I'm pissed.
I think that's
But
that's
it's fair to bring up, right?
I think so.
I'm not. You won't find him on my phone. I'm not listening to it.
Yeah.
I probably did several times. I played it in college.
But the wave was undeniable, especially because like when I moved out to Atlanta for a while, like that was legit.
Yeah.
Like they were like all radio stations. Every time you get in a car, you'd hear Soulja Boy tell him like all that stuff.
Yeah. All right, we'll move to the next decade. So the
Thank
old man over
God
here can
damn goodness.
get his pills and get to bed.
I already know a
Ooh.
couple that I'm going to bring on this
All
one.
right.
I'm actually, this is actually where it's hardest for me because I kind of stopped listening to hip hop.
Before we go, that tells me I think people always talk about like the 90s as like the golden era. The list of people we just dropped in 2000s, 2010s, that's like a freaking golden era.
The thing I think where people get confused is because a lot of those rappers started in the 90s.
Or because they start to think what you just started to go off on with the Soulja Boy, because there are people that started to trickle in at the end of the decade.
Yep, you're right.
They're like, oh, this is crap.
Yeah.
So then but there was a ton of good music then. All right.
But I think this next decade is the hardest.
Papa Doc, you said you had a couple already.
Yep. Drake.
Actually, I guess it's not hard. Okay, my bad. Let me cut you off. My fault. My fault. Go ahead.
I would put Drake, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj,
Young Money.
most Young Money. Young Money seems to like from 2010.
I mean, you just name you named the most important parts of Young Money.
Yeah.
Like 2/6 of them.
Well, you know, he made 3-6. Lil Wayne himself, Drake, and Nicki. Those are the three
I
the three pillars.
Lil Wayne above, and then Young Money's like a little group he formed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else did I put in there? I might have Kendrick in there.
I was gonna say, yeah. If you didn't have him in there, I know he doesn't like him, but
Yeah, I was like, because he didn't, like we were talking about, he doesn't put out a lot of records, so it's hard.
but in the early 2010s, he did. Early half of the 2010s. His first album, again, freaking classic. Goddamn classic.
I'd say my fifth one, E40.
Wow. In the 2010s.
E40.
A rapper who started in the 80s, and he just now saying he's blow. I mean, he had some huge hits in that time frame. So
No,
Wow.
I would
have never guessed that.
Your list, I would have got like 1 out of 5, I think.
Yeah.
Like if I was trying to guess what you would say, I think I would have got one of those.
No, I think because of he had finally come out of the underground rap scene with
The hyphy
with
movement.
going like the whole hyphy going dumb type of stuff. Like that was when we were in college, and then like.
Oh, that's right. So those hits were in the 2000s. That's right.
That's why I was surprised when he said it for this.
And then he's moved his way into more notoriety amongst most of the rappers, like the Big Sean, because actually I might have Big Sean in there, but I think Big Sean, Nicki Minaj, what is it, Too Short, and all those guys, like they're all like kind of filter in a lot of stuff from E40, and E40's been in it for a long time and had been.
Well, he's just
making a lot
loved
of
by
hits.
everybody too. Every rapper
He's like
loves
a
E40.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, he does.
Big
So-
Uncle.
He can just walk anywhere and just everybody
and
loves him.
even like what was that? Why am I blanking on his name? That song "Die Young" was his.
Post Malone.
No, I think it's Bobby, not Bobby. No, it's the "I Don't Want to Die Young" song.
That's Post Malone.
That's who I'm thinking.
I don't
of.
want to die young. Yeah, it's Post
Roddy
Malone.
Rich.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking of. Roddy Rich. Roddy Rich, brought him in on some stuff, and then also recently I've been seeing him like filtering a lot of stuff on YouTube, all that stuff as well.
Now we're in 2021 now. We gotta kill that.
Man, my list keeps changing the more you talk. Because you keep bringing people to my mind who I wasn't going to think of.
Yeah, and like the whole like even everything with Kendrick Lamar, even like Schoolboy Q and all the ASAP crew, like ASAP Ferg, ASAP Rocky.
You don't continue on with Kanye?
I would have Kanye in that, like in the mix of that, I guess. Nah, I feel like some of his actually from 2010. When did I guess Kanye could be in that, but like he only had.
He made it up. He was still like.
What did he make? 808s and Heartbreak.
Spot into like.
That was 2008-ish. That was my last favorite album of his that I liked.
Yeah,
and that was 2008.
That's when his mom died, right?
Shortly after. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That album apparently was about Kim Kardashian before they started getting together.
Well, that's where I was like, I thought all of this stuff started getting too weird. He started trying to get way too abstract with his music.
This You and I agree wholeheartedly. The two of us have discussed that, plenty of times. He still thinks he's a goddamn genius.
Yeah. And the more that I listen to, just him as a person, I'm like,
Turns you off his music.
I'm like, dude, why do you gotta like take
Why
it to
can't
weirdo
you just
mode?
shut the hell up and make some good music?
Yeah.
But so I'm cheating now. But you had My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy still.
yeah.
Yeezus. You still had Life of Pablo, which he didn't like, but you and I said we liked.
Yeah. I thought it was,
And you still had Watch the Throne.
Watch the Throne was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay-Z's probably in that. Yeah,
I
guess
wouldn't. I don't think I would have Jay in that.
for the whole decade.
Yeah, the decade.
2010
Yeah.
to 2020.
That's a really tough. Like, who really controlled the decade? It's definitely Young Money. Like
I mean, Drake should be number one on that
Drake.
list.
Drake
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, you
Drake's
actually,
in there.
okay.
I'm not
He's
some
like, don't
biased
even,
guy.
don't
Yeah.
you damn
I
say.
know
Like
how
this
you.
guy
I know
with
how you
Soulja
feel
Boy.
on. Don't, so,
We'll
bro,
have a
easy.
We'll have a separate podcast about Drake one day. We need a full 3 hours.
The funny thing is the way you feel about Drake is the way he feels about Russell Wilson.
Yes, you goddamn right.
Some love and some hate involved.
Well, a lot of hate.
A lot of, you know what?
No. Let's not get into it. Let's keep it on hip hop. You go on a tangent.
Go down the Russell Wilson.
All right, I want to get my.
I want to talk about Russell Wilson. No.
All right, Drake, number one, foremost. Number two, Kendrick. Number three is going to sound a little outside of the norm for the type of music that I like, but Migos. Migos has to be in that decade.
For the whole decade?
Yeah.
From 2010
Yeah.
till 2020.
Yes. They had it on lock for like 6 or 7 years out of that decade.
I felt like they were pretty niche for a long
I mean,
period of time.
they were.
I don't feel like they really went full blown mainstream until like the last 4 years.
Yeah, I agree. But they were still popular. They weren't maybe commercial popular, like where they're not kind of pop, but they were still big in the hip hop community.
How many people could name the artists in Migos?
Now,
Like if you walked up to, I mean,
everybody now.
Eh.
Actually,
No.
my grandma.
your grandma don't know who.
All right, she's like, who are these nappy hair boys?
Yeah, who are the three artists in Migos?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
yeah.
I'm offended.
Say it. You don't
Take
know.
off. My favorite member of Migos.
Who else?
Quavo.
And
Offset.
shit.
Did you really think I didn't know who was in that
I was
group?
about to.
Did you really not think I knew
Huh?
who was in that group?
Yeah,
I'm offended as shit.
yeah. No, I wanted to. I am curious because I don't know that most people,
No, they wouldn't. I agree with you.
or the other piece of that is like most people wouldn't know the three artists in there, like just a average listener.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece is like name a song, like one
Oh,
song,
yeah.
like name one song.
Yeah.
I couldn't name I can't name one song that they
Really?
made. Yeah.
Well, again, this is about me though. You're saying who I thought was so
It's just a subjective.
Yeah.
Comes to mind for the decade.
for me because again, I wasn't as big into music during this
But
this time period.
I don't think they're. I feel like them about the same way you felt about Fat Joe in the last class. I think they're a couple tiers below what some of these other people are in
Well-
terms of notoriety and recognition and lasting power and like all of the different things.
All right, hold on. I was only 3. I got 2 more to go. Shit, I forgot the other 2.
I wanted to change some of my list possibly, but
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna throw this name in there.
Mm-hmm.
Where's T-Pain in all this?
In the
He's
last
in
decade.
The last decade.
Yeah.
And I still don't think he's a rapper.
I was gonna say that kind of throws things off because if you include him, then we got to include Post Malone for this decade, for the 2010s. Because from White Iverson from like 2015 to 2020, I mean,
Yeah, he's huge.
yeah.
I mean, you could put.
Matter
him
of
on the
fact,
list.
I just listened to the White Iversons the other day. Goddamn.
Posty.
Yeah,
Oh,
you heard
God.
that song when we were at my house.
Yes, it was actually
The
the
first
same
time.
weekend, Super Bowl
The
weekend.
Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, and I was like, that shit was fire. That shit
At
still is
first
fire.
we were like, is this like an SNL skit?
It was.
Like,
Who's this corny white boy?
video?
Who's this corny white boy with the
dribbling the
braids?
basketball in the desert?
Yes,
But no, he did blow up.
With the
last
corner-
one.
But yeah, if we're not including T-Pain, then we can't include Post Malone.
you can't include Post Malone.
If we're not including T-Pain, then we can't include Post Malone because again, they're pseudo hip hop.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know.
If we would include them, I'm cool.
I
thought we were just doing because again,
I even
then
said
we go back to
before,
Lauryn Hill.
I've
Then we go
been
back
on
to
record
Lauryn Hill.
saying I don't consider Post Malone like a rapper.
You go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Post Malone considers
Yeah, he
himself a
doesn't.
rapper.
No.
He doesn't call himself a rapper.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
He actually said it multiple times.
but T-Pain would consider himself hip hop.
Yeah, I almost feel like R&B more than.
He said, well, he started off as being a rapper before turning to the singing route.
Yeah.
So he's
Okay,
he's a singer who can
finish
rap.
your other two?
I got nothing. Go ahead.
I'm surprised. I thought there's one guy you were gonna say for sure.
There's a couple guys, J. Cole.
That's who I thought you were gonna
Yeah,
say.
but again,
Generation.
yeah. I'll throw J. Cole in there. The reason why is because he's not as big. Again, this is for me. He's big, right? But he wasn't as big as the other
Yeah.
people I mentioned. Migos was definitely bigger than him.
You were never a big Sean guy.
I like some of his music, but he was never top of my list. His music's he's kind of annoying. He's a whiner.
Who?
Big Sean. Some of these movies, he's always. Oh, these niggas don't like me. Oh, crying and stuff. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm good.
So yeah, Drake for sure has to be there. Kanye, I still consider there. What about?
I forgot Lil Wayne. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lil Wayne's kind of on that cutoff point too, transitioning from last decade into this. I don't know if I'd put him in there.
Just the issue with him is that he had that issue with the label where he didn't put up music for like 3 or 4 years because of the label, and then I think he went to jail during that same time period. So he was really falling off at the mid to end of that decade.
What about 2 Chainz?
Man, I love 2 Chainz, but I don't know. He doesn't come to. I didn't even think about him. He didn't come to mind.
YG.
No, good. I'm being real, right? Like he's not coming on mine.
I just feel like
Tekashi
every
6ix9ine.
time I turn, it's tough to even talk about that one, but
I mean, like that's very much in line with the Soldier Boy.
It is.
Yeah,
But shorter run.
and
shorter run for sure.
yeah.
Really though?
I
mean,
I would say higher. He got higher peak.
No.
this guy had like
The Crank That movement in like 06, 07.
I mean, he had old white ladies
Yeah,
out in the South dancing
exactly.
doing that. That's
He had sorority girls dancing.
he had the dances, but like when I was watching Tekashi 6ix9ine on like a
Tekashi, you had to listen to rap to know Tekashi. Like if I asked like any random Joe Blow, they had no idea who the hell that the guy was.
right,
But like Soldier Boy, you saw him everywhere.
'cause he was more pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I think I remember probably like 5 or 6 years ago sending you guys like a meme of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Oh,
and
you definitely did.
But like he wasn't known at that point. The meme was like, like every SoundCloud rapper has to beat this boss or whatever at the end of their, in order to like do whatever. And it shows Tekashi with his rainbow hair, like holding a gun or whatever, and his teeth all fucked up.
You know the funny thing is you put us onto two opposite ends of the spectrum entertainers for this decade. Post Malone and Tekashi 6ix9ine. Those you put us onto both of those. One of them we love, the other one not so much.
I would say that, yeah. No, I think he was pretty popular.
You love him.
I don't love him.
You want to marry him.
fuck
You wanna do him.
I don't want to do him, okay?
This was a lot harder than I would have expected.
Yeah, because the
harder.
quality of music has definitely gone down.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's now kind of waiting for like a next
Like
Drake hit.
I was originally not thinking I'd like have Lil Wayne or anything, and now I'm like, shoot, who am I gonna put in front
Yeah,
of him?
that's why I'm. Yeah, and again,
Right.
J. Cole, in my opinion, and another guy I was thinking about, he was very, very at the tail end, but Joyner,
Yeah, I was very at the end.
it's very at the
What
end.
about
But
Future?
that's another guy I was thinking about. I don't like his music, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think about people that get featured on other people's records
Like-
or albums,
like who?
like Future,
Like Future.
Yeah,
or like a T-Pain.
Yeah.
Like T-Pain was getting featured on. I mean, he was getting.
But that was-
he was like the Nate Dogg of a generation.
but
where,
that was in the last decade, though.
right. I was just
Yeah.
saying, like everything he was getting put on was
Yeah.
turning into a hit.
Oh, for sure.
What
Like-
about like MGK?
Nah.
Nope. I don't mean to keep. We're both backtracking, but we forgot one person who was vital for the 2000s. I can't believe we didn't say him.
For the 2000s?
For the 2000s.
Okay.
Little John.
No, he's not a rapper.
I don't know how we can't include him on that list, though.
The whole crunk.
He started the crunk movement.
Yeah,
That was the biggest movement during that generation, during that
for sure.
time period.
But I don't think he would say he's a rapper. I don't think anyone could say he's a rapper.
All right.
Am I-
Continue.
I don't know. You think he's a rapper?
He doesn't. I can't say that he has rapped on anything.
No.
He has rapped on something. What's
He
that? What's the
has?
song? What's that song that came out in this actually the 2010s? The electronic song, "Dance for What?"
Turn down for what?
Turn down for what? Yeah,
He
Yeah.
raps in that?
yeah.
Does he though?
I mean, but
Does he, though?
it's like
He kind of
it's
yells
pseudo
hooks.
rap.
Yeah,
He's
he-
like,
it's
exactly.
hooks. Yeah,
He-
yeah.
That's what
Ad-libs.
he's always done.
It's
He
ad-libs.
yells hooks. That's not rapping.
It's still better than Soldier Boy.
Shit.
My point being though, he was
crunk
huge
music
in that.
was the biggest thing
Yeah.
for a time period because
Yep.
of him. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, back to you.
Yeah, you have to. I think I had to have Lil Wayne in there. Kanye, Drake. I originally wasn't thinking Nicki, but when you said it, I'm like, man, she really might be probably part of that top 5 too.
You're not going to include Kendrick.
No,
This guy's such a Kendrick hater.
No Kendrick Lamar.
I don't hate him. I just
Don't like him.
he's fine.
He's
fine.
literally the greatest rapper of this generation.
Yeah, we're having trouble coming up with this generation of good
But if
rappers.
he is, then he should still be in that list. Then
He's like the greatest rapper out
How
of
many
all the
albums
shitty
did he
rappers.
put out?
like 6 now.
6?
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's really hard to gauge because like
5 or
people aren't
6,
getting
yeah.
paid to be good rappers. People are getting paid to be good entertainers.
well, that's
and
because
good people
they're
like
making all
on-
their money on it for their shows.
But the other thing is like all the social media has changed it too. Like with Tekashi, like people don't care about like the people that are paying him don't care if he's a good rapper. They care that he can get a lot of attention on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like he had, I don't know, like did he have like over 1 million followers or not followers? He had like over like 1 million or I forgot how many people he had. He had some ridiculous number of people on Instagram, like on a live stream.
Yeah,
And it was like unheard of for anybody, even like he had more views on a live stream than the president. And so that's just wild. So people get paid for that. People don't get paid to rap anymore.
I think one I forgot, Travis Scott.
oh yeah, that's actually a very good. His old drug pseudo psychedelic stuff
He had
was
a
like
new vibe that he brought.
the other guy. Another for me actually. Now that I think about it, who actually birthed Travis Scott creatively, Kid Cudi.
I was just about to say Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you consider him more in the 2010s?
Nah.
Like
I
well,
feel
that
like he
first
was more in the
album,
2000s.
that first album dropped like late 2000s.
did
So yeah, it was like our last year of college or just after that.
it? For Kid Cudi?
Yeah, Day and Night.
Yeah, Day
That
and
was
Night,
like 2007, 2008. Yeah.
2007.
That came out. Now I'm going to
I'll
have to look
fact
that
check
up
it.
because I feel like I didn't hear that until I was in Georgia. Like I was listening to the Kid Cudi album driving from
I think we were both
Man
late
on the
to it
Moon.
though. I think we were both late to it. You actually, or was it you? One of you two put me on to Kid Cudi because I was late to the party on
A
him.
kid named
was
Cudi was
me.
2008, and
A Man on the Moon is the
Man
first
on the Moon is 2009.
Yeah, Man on the Moon was like the one. And
Yeah,
like
that was his first commercial album.
yeah. And so like I
And
remember
Man on the Moon 2 is 2010.
Yeah.
so that would put him in the 2010 to 2020.
It's like right in the middle,
He's
to be
like,
honest.
yeah. I mean, if you want to include him on this, yeah.
I wouldn't put him in. I mean, I feel like he had that and then he didn't have like the movement afterward.
his movement was late.
I still would add Pusha to this one.
I've never heard you listen to a Pusha T song.
What are you talking about? I play clips all the time. I went to see him in concert.
I've never heard you play any of his music. Actually, you just did last week, and I
Yeah,
did
I literally
that.
just played it.
I
Played some literally
I can't.
last, like,
I can.
night.
That style of music, which is I
And
love.
once he started playing with good music and stuff,
Yeah, but again, he had that great album, right? What was that album? Daytona.
yeah.
Great album, but again, I just don't think of that
Yeah.
Mm.
Daytona.
talent. He's probably more. He's probably as talented as the top tier of this list, but he doesn't have the commercial success.
All right, so I'll go with the I'm gonna change it up. I'll give you Kendrick.
Wow, he caved. He caved.
Dude, Drake, Kanye, Nicki, and Travis Scott.
Okay, I actually like that. I'm actually.
I think that represents the 2010s.
I think that's pretty solid.
Word.
So let's end it here then with this part. Who do you think is going to be this next decade we're just entering?
That's too hard.
I thought you were gonna say who's the top 5 from 90 till 2000.
No, this is gonna evolve to that because I have one more question. But let's say, who do you think right now, 2021,
An artist that's out
start of
now.
a new decade that's coming?
So it has
up.
to be a young
The Island Boys.
Like you got the babies, the little babies, everyone's baby.
Like the guy I just mentioned, who I said he was tail end of that last decade, but Joyner has the raw talent to do it, but he's independent.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Like, if I'm not thinking about it from like rap ability, that like I wouldn't put a lot of those artists on there, like, because I just don't think that that's what's popular. Like, I think that there's an appreciation for it from some people, but I don't think that what's popular is like somebody's like a Joyner Lucas or whatever. Their ability to like to get up over the hump is more impressive, because if you can be a really good rapper and you can have really good commercial success, then it's like you're in that realm of like the Eminems, whatever.
I think would you say it's fair to probably think Drake will still be
I was
there?
gonna say that's the one guy I can guarantee will still.
And I would probably guess Cardi.
Cardi B.
Yeah.
Is that there was some a pause there because I was confused that you actually said her name in any positive note.
I swear.
Are you being sarcastic?
Bitch, you pregnant?
I swear.
Well, okay, explain.
She gets more airwave play than like anybody.
Yeah, but you didn't say her in this last list.
Because I don't feel like she really blew up until like the last 3 years.
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm saying I think she might be one of the names that represents this next decade, where it's like, oh man, she continued on for another.
I kind of see her like in the
so.
Megan the Stallion.
Yeah, something like that.
But I don't know that she's going to carry the decade.
I don't think she has the staying power.
Cardi?
To be honest, no.
Yeah.
I don't, because that would be like a 13-year span of just
Well, she doesn't have to run the full 10. She could, like, let's say she had another really popular 5 years.
I don't know, man. She's like had 2 babies now. She's focused on being a mom. I don't know.
Yeah. I was wondering about, I don't know, the whole like gangster thing is a thing. So it's possible because I don't know, YG was in there for a little bit, was starting to come up, but then he just kind of like backed out a little bit. I was thinking that he was going to get more popular than he is.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but we were just talking about this recently. Actually, maybe you were here for that conversation as well. YG and
It was yesterday.
Yeah, YG and Ty Dolla Sign were on a
starting
song.
out together.
Yeah,
What? They were hanging out together.
they had a
They
song.
started out together. They
Oh.
Tooted and Booted.
Oh,
And I
right.
was saying, I was like, at the time, I was like, this is such a one-hit wonder.
Right.
And now they're both like, I mean, they're not connected. They've gone their separate ways, but they're both huge now.
And we were asking who's bigger right now, YG or Ty Dolla Sign, and I think at this point Ty Dolla Sign is just probably just barely eclipsed YG.
I
think
don't know.
YG's bigger.
If you think they're big, then you'd have to include Blueface in there and all that stuff.
What in the hell are you talking about?
Just because they like people had a like, I don't see them as I
Oh,
feel like their size.
we're not talking about them on this list. We're just that was a tangent conversation. We're not including YG on this list.
Ain't nobody included.
I'm gonna have a bunch of bloods knocking on my door. Say, oh, what'd you say?
Hey,
What'd you say, cuz?
Yo, no man, they don't say cuz.
Oh, is the other one say cuz?
They say what's up, blood.
Oh, what's up, blood? Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Whatever.
And if you want to get real about it,
Yeah.
you got to take all your C's out of everything. You know.
Really?
Yeah. Say Bompton or in the biddy.
In the
Blood.
biddy instead of city?
That's right.
Oh shit, that's hard.
Like, yo, dog, we just came out the biddy.
Yeah. Going back to your question though, I said Drake is the only person I can think of.
Drake.
The only one that you'd bet on.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of trying to think of who I see. Probably is it not Gunna?
Oh, Gunna.
I like
I
Gunna.
like Gunna.
Probably.
Or Lil Durk or
No.
any of those guys.
Not Lil. I think Lil Durk is going to have his run here for a little bit, and then
think
he's
he's
going to
gonna-
fall off.
I think he's gonna get arrested.
Yeah, or he's going to get shot and killed.
I was just
Wow, but I don't say that. This is going on the internet.
Let me just say this about all this. I will go off on my own tangent, but it is extremely sad to watch these guys come up and make themselves something out of nothing, and then only to like be shot and killed by somebody, by a
later.
nobody.
Yeah.
Basically, like Nipsey Hussle, just recently Slim 400, a whole bunch of other guys,
Draco the Ruler recently.
Draco. All these people get killed hanging out in their neighborhood. And Triple X was another one that was coming up that was really big. Got shot and killed by nobody. Like, nobody knows who that guy is.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, like, that's why I feel like that's my honest opinion. I feel like
That's
it's
a
gonna
new. He's actually involved in a new beef that might be really blowing up. Lil Durk and an NBA YoungBoy.
right.
Like that looks like some Pac Biggie stuff as the way it's brewing right now. Because I know we didn't bring up NBA YoungBoy because he's way like underground,
Right.
but
Yeah,
those two were beefing and people start shooting and stuff. Man, that's gonna be huge hip hop news.
I'm more just offended no one brought up Jack Harlow for the upcoming wave.
Man, fuck Jack Harlow.
Oh wow, I'm not surprised you mentioned him.
He'll be there. Don't worry.
I will say so. We mentioned that Johnny brought up. He brought to our attention Tekashi and Post Malone. You brought a couple of dudes actually recently. Jack Harlow, who was the brother from North Carolina, Moray.
Yeah.
So I didn't bring anything to the table apparently.
Yeah, you just stuck in the 90s apparently.
No, I brought. You know what I brought? I brought that song with Lil Durk and the Cowboy.
the country.
like-
the
Yeah.
country song.
Roddy Rich was a good one. You
He hates
mentioned
him.
that one. Roddy Rich?
Yeah, he hates him.
I don't hate him.
You hate him.
He's fine.
I,
He tells me to
It's-
change the song when I play.
No, it's like how you feel about Kendrick. That's how I feel about Roddy Rich. He's fine. He's fine. He's okay.
Roddy Rich, though, isn't, I thought he was going to be,
He's a singer though. He's not a rapper.
most of these guys are all turning into singers.
It's that whole blending of the thing with like
They're all trying to be
Was
Drake.
no one ever going to bring up Meek Mill in either decade?
Nah.
Not popular enough.
Nope.
No, and he got too caught up. Like, he made two major, like, awful moves. Like,
Yeah.
first one was getting into it with Drake,
Yeah.
and that just,
Backfired.
and then getting back on stage and making up and then
Yeah,
getting on an
looked
album
worse.
with him. That made it worse. Versus just saying, hey,
You know, it was a dope song,
it was, yeah, like,
It's because Drake's on it.
but it was a bad look.
but yeah, without Drake, it's just an okay song. But then, like, after that, then he got into it with Tekashi and, like,
That
on
was-
camera.
was a
Bro,
real
that-
bad look.
that was
And it was
that was
like,
awful.
yeah. And everybody was like, hey, dog, you said you were going to do this and that to Tekashi, and you didn't do shit. Like, and he was up in your face. And it was kind of like, well, who the hell are you? And then, I don't know, he's got all his own court shit and all that stuff going on, like popping wheelies in the street and getting sent to prison. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be leading any generation.
I was even meaning last decade, like we didn't even mention it. But
I think he's fallen off. I don't think he's gonna be. He's definitely not going to the next decade.
Yeah. We never mentioned Fabo, my boy.
Oh dang, Fabo should.
But I didn't really know which pocket to put him in.
Because he was
He's
in the
probably
90s.
more 2000s, but he started.
He started in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah. I don't think he was big enough to
Like, I think he's almost like hurt by the fact he started late in a
Yeah.
decade and then blended into the early part of the.
But so
next
did Ja
decade.
Rule. I mean, they started kind of at the same time. Actually, maybe Fabo was a little bit earlier.
They were probably at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that's that next tier down. Fabo was there
But
for
yeah,
the 90s
if we were
and
to
the
sit here and talk
2000s.
about our favorite artists, rappers, I'd have Fabo in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, now I've got to figure this. I got to, like, look.
While you're figuring out two phones, why don't you go ahead and enter your final question there?
Well, Marsh already kind of talked about it. Who is the top 5 lasting power through all 3 decades?
Well, that's easy. Jay's number one.
It doesn't mean they sat through all 3, but
But yeah,
the longest period.
yeah.
But yes, you're right. Jay-Z's for sure one of those.
M.
Yep.
Lil Wayne,
Yep.
because he started in the 90s and he's still active right now. Yeah. Damn. After that, it gets a bit harder.
You're going to,
Go ahead.
Snoop Dogg. Nas.
In terms of staying power, I couldn't disagree with Snoop Dogg. Although his music has really fallen off.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. His music is definitely
Yeah.
not up to par with what he was putting out
Outkast.
when he first came out.
No.
No.
Because they haven't made music really in the last decade. I mean,
Yeah.
half that time, but yeah. I mean, who else would you put in that list, though? I mean, I wouldn't want to put Snoop Dogg on that list. But who else are you
Even
going to put?
Snoop Dogg, like, yes, he's been relevant, relatively speaking.
But it's more like
But it's like
entertainment.
comes and goes. Yeah. and
Yeah, it's
like,
not
he
really from.
pops up.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like dropping a new album in 2010 and you're like, oh,
Another guy similar to that would be Ice Cube, who's
Yeah.
relevant in entertainment, but maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily hip hop. E40.
Yeah, but he wasn't big until, I don't know.
But if you want to be technical, he started in the 80s. And he's actually more relevant now than he was in that early part of the.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
He's
I
only
don't,
gotten
feel like,
bigger.
I don't feel like you even heard from him in the 90s unless you were really tuned
No,
in.
that's true. I know I didn't hear
mean,
of him until the 2000s.
Like that hyphy movement
In the 90s.
outside of Oakland, Bay Area, like the nationwide movement of hyphy wasn't really till like 04 probably.
But that's still almost 20
05?
years, though, of being in the, known nationwide.
Yeah, I get what
And
you're
then
saying.
before that, he was more local. So, I mean, in my opinion, that's enough to be on the list.
And by local meaning like he was known among because like he was still I think he still had big distribution deals and he was still selling.
Oh, for
records.
sure.
But like
You know what? I'm gonna do E40, but I'm gonna do E40 with / Too Short. They're selling from the same area. They started at the same time. They've been relevant. They're kind of tied together, in my opinion. So I'm gonna include both of them on that list.
E40 they both snuck their way back into like the limelight with Lil Jon.
Yep, exactly.
Would blow the whistle and tell me when to go.
Yeah. Again, not the top tier like the J and the M and the Lil Wayne, but those two, I think, in terms of staying power over that, you can't
hell
deny
no.
that.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking, I forgot who I was talking about. Talking with this about your house, like with one of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We were
Talking to my
about
kids about hip hop,
No, like it was actually
or was it my nephew talking about Blueface?
one of your nephews. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like they were like, no, Blueface is it's
Yeah.
a shit. I'm like, you watch, this guy's gonna be
And where is he now?
gonna be a nobody in like 3 years.
Yep.
Give it time.
It only took 1 year.
You don't
It only took 1 year,
you
and I
don't
was
think
right.
Luda's in that?
I don't.
He started in like 98.
Nobody knew about him, too much.
He had a 10-year run. That's it.
Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I was listening to Ludacris definitely in '98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His first album was a classic.
Yeah.
That wasn't
I was
Chicken
like in
Beer.
elementary school. I
Southern
think.
Hospitality.
That was What?
Middle school. I think I was like in middle school, elementary school when it first came out.
I was just like I was in high school.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
98. We were in 8th grade.
Yeah, bro.
I just got out of.
I
eighth
forgot.
grade.
He's like 74. He has a few years on us.
You got Elvis
Here we go
on your
again.
list, or-
I think I'm
Old-
younger
old.
than you. I don't know
Okay.
what you're talking
Anyways,
Well,
he only had a 10-year run, so I would not include him on
You
that
don't
list.
think so?
He's still making movies, but he's not actively making music. So no, I wouldn't include him.
Fast and the Furious.
Hey, I love him, but it's not hip hop.
about. Well, I would say I would include E40. Were you saying for the all-time
You're saying over
just
the
kind
30
of
years.
The 30-year span we've talked about.
30-year span? Yeah,
But
I
again,
definitely
it
put
doesn't-
E40 in there. I put Snoop Dogg, Nas, because they are still all relevant. Drake.
See, I have a totally
Drake in
different
there.
perspective than where you guys are going with it.
Let's
What's
hear
your
it.
perspective?
Let's hear it, bro.
Mine is just like high peak chunk of time. So like Lil Wayne, Hove, Eminem, to me Kanye. Because we're not breaking it down by 10 to 10 right now. It's like just.
So you're saying who? So out of those 30 years, who
Like
had
if
the
you're-
best run out of those 30?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
That's
I thought
how-
you were
that's
asking
how I'm
longevity.
looking at
If
it.
we were
Okay.
to make a graph and we were to see like their various peaks over
Yeah,
the
like their bar
30
charts.
years,
Okay, that's actually a great question.
you would say like because I would say Snoop Dogg's in there. He had his period early in the 90s, and then he had another period with like Pharrell, which went another I don't know however many years.
Snoop Dogg so much.
I don't. You didn't even have him on in your list in the 90s. Now all of a sudden you have him on this list. That make no goddamn sense.
Totally makes sense because if we're talking about the best in that era, that's one thing. If we're talking about overall that held,
I feel
all
like
the way
the
through,
person
'cause some
we're
people-
mentioning here have to be on that top 5 list
on which top 5?
for each decade. We're pulling names out of those decades for for the ultimate top, top. Right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, like I'll give the example, right? Like there was a couple people that we set like it was difficult to say one way or the other because part of their run was like in one decade and then the other part was another decade. But if you think about, it's over the course of the 30 years, then you actually have both of those combined. You don't have to break it down.
I feel like with the exception of Lil Wayne, we probably haven't had a lot of overlap with the artists between generations. Like, I don't know, you'd probably have to go back and see like what we had. But like, if we were to take all of our lists that we just said and then looked at them all by generation, there would only be a couple of artists. There wouldn't be 5 that actually made it all the way through.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I thought we were just picking a top 5 out of those 15 that we picked over that.
Yes.
So
He just made that rule up in his head right there.
Well, it's ish.
okay. I'm going to tell you.
Because like I'll give you the example. We talked about Kanye. You guys like, well, I liked him in this era, but
Yeah.
then his like the 2010s.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Off.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
if you
basically
combine,
what I'm
that's
saying.
a 10-year period.
Yeah.
Really.
I would say I'll just start off my list so we can the podcast here. I would say Jay, Drake, Lil Wayne, Kanye, and I struggle there after that.
I think I'm like 4 for 4 with you so far.
I don't know who the fifth would be though.
Snoop Dogg.
No.
E40.
No, that last one is tough for me.
Because you said Drake, Jay-Z,
And Kanye.
and Kanye. Yeah.
Yeah.
I for sure would have those.
Because the Big and the Pac, it was just
Just the 90s.
it was
just
too
the 90s,
short.
yeah.
It was too short.
Too short.
Yeah.
I would say I would agree with that whole list, and I'd probably put it would be a tie between E40 and Snoop Dogg for me, for sure. Because they were, well, I don't know if I had Snoop Dogg on my list anywhere.
You didn't.
But I would put E40 in the mix of that.
I'm still gonna stick with say Luda. I think.
Yeah. I
It
don't.
was
I
like
don't.
98 through like 2010.
Yeah.
He was still like.
No, I mean that you can't find a better. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Like I said,
Luda.
Luda is criminally underrated in the hip hop
Yeah.
list. So I don't have an issue with that. I mean, we can go Outkast as well. Another group. Never mind. Yeah.
You're about to say,
What was I gonna say?
go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was I gonna say? You're gonna guess. Who else gonna say?
Soulja Boy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Fugees.
Oh,
It's one album. It's one album. I know. It's one album. God damn, I love the
You, like,
Fugees.
had a great podcast, and then you drop something like that.
Oh God.
Then you just had to go and fuck it up.
All right. Well, I think that was a good run. We went a little over an hour, maybe.
Yep.
Something
Hour and
like
8 minutes.
that. So we'll sign off. Say goodnight. Time to go to bed.
Yep.
2 chocolates and a caramel coming to you live. Ending in the scene.
Hit it.